Today, we're going to be doing a review on the Hurache-X Jelly Bean from 11.624. Honestly, one of my favorite paddles that I've been playing with. Now, the Hurache-X Jelly Bean, it's labeled as a control paddle, but I don't really feel that it's just strictly control. I think that it's able to deliver a lot more than people would expect, especially from a strictly labeled control paddle. This video is going to be mainly based on how this paddle feels on the court. I will put the specs up really quick here on the screen, but the majority of it's going to be, my own opinion, also my first impressions on how this paddle actually feels, how it plays on the court and in real time. This paddle is labeled as a control paddle. It's super plush, but I mean that in a good way. Right there at the kitchen, whenever you're hitting softer shots, maybe some backhand dinks, forehand dinks, also even just hitting resets from the back of the court all the way up to the kitchen, I think this is where the paddle really shines. At the kitchen, I think this is where this paddle really does the best. I feel a lot more confident up at the kitchen line, hitting resets, hitting dinks, than I would with other paddles. It also gives me a lot more confidence on my placement. Being a newer player, placement I have learned is going to be a lot more important than power, especially when playing some people that are a lot better than you. Placement's going to be the key to winning points, and with this, it's really easy to feel where you're putting the shot, how it's going to come off the face, and I really like that. At the kitchen line is where this paddle is really going to shine. Soft shots, dinks, resets, they felt a lot more natural. Those soft touch shots felt great. That's going to boost your confidence quite a bit whenever you're up there at the kitchen, and when you're like me and you're used to hitting it in the net or hitting it out. Hitting those nice, soft, and controlled shots definitely boosts your confidence as a player, makes you feel a lot better than you actually are. So now we're going to get into more of the power. I do think that this thing lacks in power. It is a control paddle, so you can't have extreme power and extreme control all in one paddle. That would be revolutionary at this point in time. But where you need the power, this thing will deliver. The power is not overwhelming, but it's also not underwhelming. It's a nice middle ground. Like I said, right there when you need it, it will deliver. When I was playing, I didn't have any issues putting away high balls, whether it was an overhead or some form of a backhand flick. I didn't have any problem hitting those and putting them away. I think the CFC layup, the carbon fiber, fiberglass, carbon fiber, it's going to really give it that extra pop and just a little bit of extra power than some other control paddles that might not have that put away power that this thing does. Like I said, not the most power. It's a nice middle ground, but I think the layup of the face is really what helps put those shots away. Now we're going to get into more of the spin and performance of the paddle. I think that the spin is phenomenal. I don't think it's as gritty as some of the other control paddles that I've played with. Like I said, I played with the double black diamond for a while. This thing is not as gritty as the double black diamond, but as you can hear, it's still pretty gritty. And I mean, it grabs the ball and puts a bunch of spin on it. Top spin, absolutely no problem with this. Backspin, if you're able to hit the correct shot, there's no problem with it. I think the spin on this is pretty good. It's definitely not going to be a extreme amount of grit, but it is definitely super reliable and very effective. So now we're going to be getting into my favorite part about this paddle, and that is going to be the sweet spot and the amount of forgiveness that this paddle has. As you can see on the face, I'm hitting most of my shots right there in the middle, obviously where you want to hit them, where most paddle sweet spots are. But right there on the edge, you can see that I'm hitting quite a few balls, a lot more than I would want to, right there on the edge. But with the high twist weight of this paddle, especially I've got a little bit of weight here on the side leading down to the throat, it adds a lot of stability, but this paddle also comes with a lot of stability. I'll throw up the stock numbers for this paddle. With that added weight, I don't have any measurements, but I just personally like to have a paddle with a huge sweet spot and a lot of forgiveness because I'm not the greatest player. From that, even hitting those shots right there on the edge, didn't even feel the paddle twist, no vibration. There was no ball that died completely. It seemed like I hit it right in the sweet spot. And I think for that to be on a paddle, for that amount of forgiveness to be on a paddle, is going to attract a lot of attention from lower level players, even some intermediate players that are still learning um, exactly where to hit the ball and probably not hitting the sweet spot every single time whenever they hit it. I think that's going to be what drives the attention to this paddle. Now we're going to get into the actual feel of this paddle. Personally, just being pretty clean cut and dry, I think that this paddle feels great. I think anyone could pick it up and would say somewhere around the same thing. This paddle feels good. It has a good sweet spot. I didn't feel any vibrations. Maybe if I hit it right there on the handle, then I felt a small vibration. But outside of that, I didn't feel any type of vibration, even without the weight when I was playing with it stock. I think having a big sweet spot and a lot of forgiveness on any paddle, whether you're super good or you're just beginning, I think it's going to help you out no matter what. And this thing really delivers in the sweet spot and forgiveness. Now, the cons, like I've said a couple times before, really would just be the power. There's nothing wrong with the power. It doesn't underperform in the power category. But I think stock, this paddle coming with just a little bit more power, I think would really elevate it and put it to more of the all-court category than just strictly control. I think it is edging up on that all-court category. I think just a little bit extra power would be there. Like I said, the power is going to be just the biggest con, but that also doesn't make it a bad paddle. There's nothing negative to say about the power. That's just where the paddle lacks a little bit. This paddle for really the lower level, starting in the beginners, even some starting to get on that intermediate portion of skill level. I think this paddle would be great. Once you start playing some better people, you start realizing that control is going to be a lot more important than power in a lot of aspects, especially when you're playing those better people and they have a lot better placement than you do. This thing really helps you keep the ball under control. You're able to feel the ball sink into the face and put it right where you want it. I don't think there was any time where I hit the ball and it's not where I was wanting it to go. Now, if you're looking for extreme pop and power, like I just said earlier, I don't think this is going to be for you. Not that this thing doesn't have any pop and power. I think if you're strictly going for more of that power category, I think you should invest in a power paddle. This thing is definitely not a power paddle. Not that it's a bad paddle, but I think if you're wanting more of that poppy, stiffer feeling paddle, I don't think that I would recommend this paddle. Overall, the Hurache-X Jelly Bean is going to be a super control-focused paddle, giving you a lot of confidence on those softer shots, a lot of dinks and resets, and a super, very well-balanced paddle, in my opinion. I think this is a really, really good job done from 11.624. That's going to be the end of the review. If there are any paddles you would like to see me review in the future, put them down in the comments. If this helped you out, please hit the subscribe button. Just trying to grow the channel. And I've got some more paddle reviews coming out soon, so stay tuned for those.